Okay, so uh, let's unpack this. We're diving into something that feels like, well, bedrock for so many people.
hmm
Stephen Covey's 7 Habits.
Highly effective people. A classic.
Exactly. And for decades, these principles, they've been called timeless.
Right.
But, I mean, look around now, 2025.
Yeah.
The speed of everything, the feeling of just being constantly bombarded by tech, overwhelmed by global issues. These
Yeah.
timeless still fit. It really makes you pause,
Yeah.
you know? Makes you wonder if these habits hold the same meaning or even the same power.
It's a really critical question. I mean, the core wisdom of Covey, it isn't suddenly wrong.
No, not wrong.
But the environment, the world where we try to apply it, it's shifted so dramatically. What maybe felt straightforward before now means grappling with just unprecedented complexity.
Absolutely. And that's exactly our mission with this deep dive. We've got your sources, the articles, the research, all the notes you've provided us, and we're going to dig into them. We want to find out how these classic habits are being challenged and, maybe more importantly, what the material suggests are the necessary updates, the reinterpretations for the world we're living in right now.
Yeah, and we'll explore how these big forces, things like AI, climate change, social media, definitely,
Oh, yeah.
the whole reality of remote and hybrid work, and even, the very nature of truth and misinformation, how they're reshaping how we think about effectiveness.
So by the end of this conversation, the goal is for you listening, is for you to have a clearer picture. How can these foundational principles, these habits, truly guide you and keep you effective amidst all the unique complexities of 2025?
Sounds good. Let's jump right in.
Okay.
Let's start with habit one. Be proactive. The original idea, it's about taking initiative, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on your circle of influence, not just reacting to whatever
And
happens.
not just getting swept along.
Yeah.
But the sources you've shared, they point to this really powerful, relentless force in 2025 that actively works against being proactive. It's the attention economy.
Precisely. Our digital environment, it's almost designed to pull us into reaction mode. You've got constant notifications, algorithmic feeds curated specifically to trigger engagement, often, emotional engagement.
Yeah.
And the material you sent, it highlights a really telling statistic. The average worker switches tasks about every 45 seconds.
Wait, 45 seconds? Seriously?
45 seconds. Think about that. Less than a minute before you're likely getting pulled in a totally new direction.
Wow, that's barely enough time to even start thinking about something that needs real focus. And it's not just pings, right? It's AI-driven feeds, maybe even deepfakes, that can provoke these instant, unthinking reactions before we've even had a chance to verify or reflect.
And then you add the nuances of remote and hybrid work. You lose those spontaneous chats, those hallway cues you used to get.
Sure.
So you actually have to proactively seek out feedback. You have to actively initiate connection, or opportunities might just slip by.
You can't just rely on bumping into people.
Exactly. And then on a bigger scale, these huge global issues, climate crises, geopolitical instability, they can feel so overwhelming. It creates this sense of helplessness almost, making it hard to feel like your individual actions matter. That really challenges that core sense of agency, of proactivity.
Okay, so that's the challenge. How does the guidance from the sources reinterpret, be proactive for this environment? What does it look like, in practice in 2025?
Well, the material makes it pretty clear that being proactive now requires this active, really deliberate management of your digital and your psychological environment.
Ah, so it's not just about work tasks anymore.
Not just work tasks. It's not enough to just think about taking initiative in your projects. You have to apply that same initiative to creating the conditions for focused work and thoughtful responses in the first place.
So it's like building defenses, setting boundaries against all those reactive pulls.
Exactly that. The sources give some concrete examples. Scheduling dedicated deep work periods, like really zero interruptions,
Yep.
using notification filters much more aggressively,
Turning things off.
turning things off. It's also about intentional participation. With the sheer volume of information and causes vying for your attention, proactivity now involves consciously choosing which global issues, which personal growth paths, maybe upskilling for AI, maybe getting involved in local climate resilience, which ones will you commit your limited energy to?
Instead of just feeling swamped by all of them.
Right, rather than just passively feeling overwhelmed.
That really shifts it, doesn't it? From just doing things to consciously choosing where and how to spend your very finite attention and energy. And for leaders, it means they aren't just starting projects anymore. They're actively coaching their teams on managing attention or initiating connection, like making virtual coffee breaks a proactive habit, not an afterthought.
Yes. The timeless principle is definitely reinforced, but its effective application today demands this conscious, ongoing battle against all those forces designed to make us reactive.
That makes so much sense. It really feels like attention is the new battlefield for proactivity. Okay, speaking of planning and direction, that leads us nicely to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. The original habit is all about defining your vision, your mission, aligning your actions with that long-term purpose.
And the central challenge here, highlighted in the sources for 2025, it's uncertainty. Uncertainty on a scale that makes traditional long-term planning incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I can see that.
The material points to things like the World Economic Forum risks, extreme weather events, ecosystem collapse. These are ranked among the top concerns, looking just 10 years out.
That's a profound challenge to long-term planning. I mean, how do you begin with the end in mind when the end you maybe envisioned might be radically altered by climate impacts or, other major crises?
Precisely. And you have these rapid, often unpredictable shifts in careers, in industries, in economies, driven by geopolitics, economic volatility, the accelerating pace of AI. It means a fixed 5-year plan might be totally obsolete in 2 years.
Or even one.
Or even one, yeah. The sources really emphasize that future goals need built-in sustainability and resilience. Otherwise, they're just fragile. They might not hold up.
And there's also this increasing awareness, isn't there, that personal or company visions need to integrate broader societal values, things like equity, environmental stewardship, not just focus on personal gain or profit alone.
Absolutely. So the updated interpretation drawn from the sources isn't about abandoning the idea of having a North Star, but more about redefining how we navigate towards it. It's framed as scenario-based visioning.
Scenario-based visioning. Okay, can you unpack that a bit from the sources? What does that actually mean?
Well, instead of developing one single, rigid, highly detailed master plan, the material suggests sketching out multiple plausible futures.
Okay.
Like, what if climate impacts accelerate severely? What if a specific AI disruption completely transforms your industry?
So you're not betting on just one specific end, but you're outlining a few potential outcomes, a few different ways things might go.
Exactly. And then the idea is you choose flexible goals and develop strategies that actually make sense across these different potential scenarios. Maybe your personal mission explicitly includes contributing to social or planetary well-being, perhaps building a career focused on, say, developing sustainable energy solutions, something that holds value in multiple futures.
That really calls for adaptive goal setting, doesn't it? Linking your aims not just to personal achievement, but to resilient practices like sustainable business models. And crucially, committing to continuous learning to keep pace with all the technological and environmental shifts.
It absolutely does. And it also means fundamentally reevaluating some old assumptions. The sources note that many people now see a career less as a single linear track and more like a portfolio of skills and roles that evolves.
Right.
So beginning at the end in mind in 2025 means having a clear, values-driven core purpose, yes, but planning for its realization with the flexibility to navigate multiple potential futures.
That makes sense. It's about effectiveness through adaptability, really.
Right.
And this ties really closely into how we manage our time and energy day to day, which brings us right to habit 3. Put first things first. The original idea sounds simple. Prioritize what's important over what just feels urgent. Focus on your core goals.
Sounds simple, yes. But in 2025, the primary challenge to this habit, as the sources really highlight, is the scarcity of attention. It's our most pressured resource.
Yeah, we definitely felt that pressure talking about proactivity. It's the same theme coming back.
Exactly. It's totally connected. The constant deluge of digital urgent items, emails, chat pings, news alerts, it constantly creates this sense of false urgency, pulling us away from what's truly important. And this barrage, it shrinks our attention spans, as we mentioned earlier.
And remote and hybrid work often makes this worse, right? It blurs those boundaries. People report working longer hours, constantly checking emails way outside of traditional work time.
Right. It becomes incredibly difficult to protect that focused time you need for the important strategic work or even just for personal renewal. The material you provided, it references studies that describe this as a kind of deep work crisis.
A deep work crisis?
Yeah, the inability to spend sustained time on complex tasks because of constant digital interruptions. And on a larger scale, organizations and leaders face this too. How do you prioritize that vital long-term societal and environmental work when the daily tasks are just screaming for immediate attention?
So putting first things first, fundamentally, it's about mastering our attention in this specific environment. Is that the takeaway?
It really is. It's about disciplining our attention and consciously choosing which inputs and tasks actually receive our focus. The sources offer practical strategies, things like strict time blocking for focused work, treating technology as a tool you use intentionally, like batching email responses rather than letting it dictate your entire schedule.
And elevating those broader priorities too, maybe.
Mhm.
Scheduling things like professional development or mental health breaks not as optional if I get to its tasks, but as non-negotiable, important appointments in your calendar.
Absolutely. It requires proactive use of tech, maybe using AI assistants to help filter out low priority alerts and establishing protective routines, like deliberately setting aside technology free time on weekends, for example.
Yeah, easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, definitely. But the key insight is that putting first things first in 2025 often means consciously saying no to the insistent demands of the instant and saying yes to the strategic, the meaningful, the important, whether that's spending time learning a new AI skill, contributing to a climate initiative, or simply disconnecting to be fully present with family. Protecting your focus in this attention economy is putting first things first now.
That reframe is powerful. Not just task management anymore, it's attention management. Okay, let's turn our attention, speaking of attention, to relationships and collaboration with Habit 4. Think win-win. The original core is about cultivating a mindset of mutual benefit, moving away from that zero-sum, I win, you lose kind of competition.
And global and digital trends in 2025 are really putting a strain on this concept.
Mhm.
You look at social media, online polarization, they actively foster these us versus them narratives, making finding common ground just so much harder.
Definitely feels that way.
And geopolitically, competition is clearly on the rise, with nations vying for dominance in critical areas like AI development, resource control.
We see that playing out with things like the global race for semiconductor manufacturing, for instance.
Exactly that. And even within the workplace, the gig economy, increasing automation. Sometimes these can create tension, pitting workers against machines or against each other in competition for scarce roles or projects.
Right.
And resource scarcity, whether it's supply chain disruptions or climate-related impacts, can trigger selfish, short-term choices. Trust, generally globally, even interpersonally, feels strained in a world of rapid change and often conflicting information.
So given all that pressure, how do the sources suggest we actually cultivate win-win in such a competitive, sometimes fractured environment?
Well, the updated interpretation seems to emphasize finding creative, systemic solutions to actively expand the pie, as the material puts it. It means businesses, individuals, we have to be deliberate about engineering outcomes where multiple parties genuinely benefit.
Like the move towards stakeholder capitalism that some companies are exploring, focusing not just on shareholder profit, but on people, planet, and profit together.
That's a perfect example drawn right from the sources. Other practical examples could include competitors collaborating on shared challenges, like climate action, maybe forming industry-wide groups to develop clean technologies together.
A win for them and the planet.
Exactly. Or, critically important in 2025, intentionally using AI to augment workers' abilities, making them more productive and valuable rather than simply aiming to replace them. That creates a potential human plus AI win-win.
It's interesting that the material you shared notes that while overall international cooperation seemed to dip post-pandemic, efforts specifically focused on climate cooperation actually grew. It shows that finding collective wins is still possible, even amidst broader competition.
It does. It shows it can be done. The sources really urge a redefinition of success, moving beyond purely transactional wins to fostering partnerships for sustainability and mutual resilience. Building trust across cultural, national, and digital divides becomes absolutely paramount.
So how does that look day to day?
Well, modern applications could include leaders clearly communicating how new AI tools can create new opportunities for employees, highlighting that human creativity combined with AI efficiency is a potential win-win for everyone. Or negotiating flexible work arrangements that boost both company output and employee well-being, another clear win-win. It's about balancing these complex factors, societal impact, equity, technological change, to actively look for opportunities for mutual gain.
That really calls for a lot of understanding, which, conveniently, brings us straight to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Good transition.
Thanks. The original habit is all about practicing empathic listening, genuinely trying to grasp another person's perspective before you jump in and try to share your own.
And this habit, wow, it faces an immense challenge in 2025 from misinformation and polarization. In a world saturated with fake news, algorithmic echo chambers. Truly hearing and understanding someone, especially across a difference of opinion, requires navigating incredible noise, bias, and just really emotionally charged content.
Yeah.
The sources you provided point to misinformation and disinformation as the top global risk in the near term. That's huge.
That's a staggering challenge. I mean, how do you even seek to understand when you're not even sure if the information you're getting is truthful or if the other person is operating from a completely different set of facts?
It fundamentally demands active filtering and conscious empathy. Understanding first now has to mean actively vetting information, fact-checking, making a deliberate effort to engage with perspectives outside your usual digital bubble. It requires digital literacy skills, maybe even specific training in civil discourse to listen beyond just the inflammatory rhetoric.
So for leaders, maybe this looks like intentionally holding listening forums, actually creating space to hear diverse perspectives before making decisions, especially on controversial topics.
Exactly. That's a great example. And day to day, for all of us, it means pausing before you forward that sensational headline or fire off that reactive comment online. Maybe even using AI-powered tools to quickly summarize complex articles so you can grasp the core argument before forming an opinion or jumping into a response.
Using tech to help understand better.
Potentially, yeah. This habit is arguably more critical now and certainly more challenging, given the risks of misinformation and just the general erosion of trust. It requires building trust not just with individuals, but within this fractured media landscape. And that really starts with questioning our own filters and biases first.
That's key.
Only by actively seeking verified facts and extending empathy across divides can we hope to build a foundation from which we can then speak constructively and actually have a chance of being understood.
That definitely adds layers. It's not just about interpersonal empathy anymore, is it? It's navigating the whole information landscape with critical thinking and compassion. Okay, building on understanding and finding win-win. Habit 6 is synergize.
Right.
Combining strengths through positive teamwork to achieve outcomes that would be impossible alone. The whole 1 + 1 = 43 idea.
And the primary challenge for synergy in 2025, according to the sources, is bridging the virtual and physical divide. We have all these collaboration tools, sure, but fostering true creative remote or hybrid teamwork, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's not quite the same.
It's not. The sources note that video calls, while useful, they don't fully replicate the spontaneity, the creative energy you get from in-person brainstorming or collaborations sometimes.
And teams are also more geographically dispersed, more diverse than ever before, which is fantastic for potential creativity, but it requires real conscious effort to align perspectives and communication styles.
It absolutely does. Interestingly, the material touches on new AI nudging tools that might help with this, potentially harmonizing communication styles or ensuring quieter voices get heard in digital meetings. Kind of fascinating.
AI as a team facilitator.
In a way, yeah. But a major, still developing frontier for synergy is human-AI collaboration.
The team now includes software, essentially. The AI is part of the team.
Right, and the sources indicate that this human-AI synergy, well, it is lacking, or at least not yet fully realized. We're still in the pretty early stages of figuring out how humans and machines can truly complement each other's strengths to achieve something genuinely new, that real 1 + 1 = 3 outcome.
So, synergizing in 2025 means orchestrating diverse, often hybrid human teams and intentionally integrating human-machine partnerships. Is that the idea?
Precisely. It involves actively cultivating inclusive cultures, aligning with diversity, equity, and inclusion principles to ensure that all those diverse human perspectives are not just present, but genuinely integrated and leveraged.
Making sure everyone contributes.
Yeah, and companies are starting to experiment embedding AI co-creators into processes or setting up brain trusts that explicitly include input from both human employees and AI analysis.
Using technology deliberately, again, to facilitate connection and make sure everyone's ideas, regardless of their communication style or where they are, actually contribute to the whole outcome.
Yes. It's really about designing interactions and workflows that truly leverage the unique strength of each participant, whether they're human or artificial. It requires valuing network outcomes, collective intelligence. Covey's principle of synergy now extends to fostering this co-evolution with technology and building bridges across disparate geographies and backgrounds. Empathy, effective digital facilitation, inclusive communication, these are the essential skills for achieving true synergy in these online and AI-augmented workspaces.
Okay, finally, let's talk about maintaining effectiveness over the long haul with Habit 7. Sharpen the saw.
The renewal habit.
Exactly. This is the habit of renewing yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, maintaining balance so you don't just burn out.
And burnout and well-being are absolutely central concerns in 2025. Constant connectivity makes it incredibly hard to disconnect and truly rest. The sources cite some pretty stark statistics, like 72% of remote or hybrid workers feeling less likely to fully recover when they're sick,
Wow.
and 81% checking work emails outside of work hours regularly.
That's just a relentless pace. It's no wonder stress and anxiety levels are reportedly so high.
Exactly. The material notes rising rates of stress, anxiety, depression, with over 40% of employees reporting higher stress levels in 2024 compared to the year before. And on top of the usual work pressures, you've got these new stressors piling on. Climate anxiety, economic insecurity, maybe social isolation in a more fragmented digital world. It all adds to the burden.
And our basic human needs haven't changed.
Our fundamental biological and psychological needs for rest, for connection, they haven't changed at all. But the demands of this hyper-connected world make meeting them a constant challenge.
It is encouraging, though, that organizations seem to be starting to recognize this more seriously. Gartner identifying employee well-being as a top 2025 focus suggests it's maybe moving from just a personal issue to a systemic one they need to address.
Yes, and the updated interpretation of Sharpen the Saw really reflects this reality. It explicitly includes digital detox and dedicated mental health practices as basically non-negotiable forms of renewal now.
So not just nice to haves, but essentials.
Essentials. This means consciously scheduling real time off maybe tech-free weekends, genuinely disconnecting from work apps entirely after hours.
And cultivating resilience through things like mindfulness, regular exercise, strong community connections. These become even more crucial specifically as a countermeasure to that digital overload and potential isolation.
Absolutely. And many employers are now offering more robust benefits like sabbaticals, dedicated mental health days, comprehensive wellness programs, recognizing that employee renewal is vital for sustained productivity and innovation.
That's good to see.
And the sources also extend the saw metaphor beyond just the individual, which I find interesting. They suggest renewing our environment, our community, the planet is also a form of sharpening the saw.
How so?
That engaging with nature or volunteering for causes like climate action or local community support can actually be profoundly energizing and contributes to collective well-being, which in turn supports individual well-being.
So it connects personal renewal to systemic health. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It demands both that practical self-care, turning off screens, setting boundaries, and also a form of system care, engaging in sustainable practices, contributing to a healthy community. Because the health of our environment and society directly impacts our ability to be effective and balanced individuals.
It requires conscious, deliberate effort to protect your fundamental human need for rest and renewal against all those constant pressures of the 2025 environment. It's an active process.
Wow. Okay. Taking this deep dive into your sources, it really underscores how these habits, while their underlying truth might genuinely be timeless, they require such deliberate, conscious adaptation to be truly effective in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. From actively managing digital overwhelm and defending your focus against the attention economy,
Right.
to navigating global uncertainty with flexible scenario planning, collaborating effectively with both diverse humans and emerging AI, and prioritizing your well-being by actively seeking digital detox and engaging in system care, these updated interpretations provide a really vital framework, I think.
They really offer a way to stay grounded, maybe resilient and purposeful in what often feels like an increasingly complex and unpredictable world. So for you listening, thinking about your own life, your own work right now, which of these updated interpretations resonates most strongly with you? Which habit feels the most challenged by the specific world you navigate every single day?
And maybe consider this final thought, drawn from the themes in the material. In a world where information is absolutely abundant, but our attention is incredibly scarce and connection feels constant, but trust is often strained. How do you choose to invest your most valuable resources, your focus, your energy, and your empathy to live a truly effective life today?